In the last video we looked at just how to set up a basic application, and we had this application with a label and a text box. What we'd first do is just get a button on there as well, and it's fairly similar to the other ones. So we're creating a variable and we're saying, okay, what's going to be the parent? Well, the window here, and we're going to give it the text, so the text which is written on that button, so it's going to say submit on it. Then we need to tell it what to do when you click on it, and that's using the command or command parameter. So the command that we want it to run when you click submit, or when you click on the button, is the function called submit. Now you can call that whatever you like, but it's got to refer to an existing function. So there's the submit function, and all that's going to do is just print clicked. Then, just like the other ones, we can say submit.pack, exactly the same as the other ones, and that's just going to add it into the screen. So let's have a look at that. There we go. So we got the label, we got the text box, and we got the button. So we press clicked. Yep, there we go. It loads up. So we'll come back to this later, but this pack, that is saying how you want the items to appear in the screen. So this one's pack, which is just chuck it in there, naturally just one comes after the other. There are three which we're interested in: pack, grid, and place. Now let's have a look at grid. So instead of pack we say grid, and we need to give it an argument. We need to give the argument of where in the grid is it going to be. Now a grid, as you can probably imagine, goes something like that, and you've got 0, 1, 2 and so on, and 0, 1, 2 and so on that side. So we're going to put the label in 0, 0, then we're going to put the entry text box in 0, 1. Then we're going to put the button across here, and we'll see how we do that in a sec. So first, grid. So the row we said was 0, the column was also 0. Then, okay, where's the entry coming in? So that row is 0, and the column for the entry is column 1. Then we got the button, which we'll say for now is row 1. So row 1, column 0. So we'll say we'll put the text box there. It won't go across here, but we'll see how that goes. Let's just run that. Notice I haven't had to tell it, well, you're running something with 2 rows and 2 columns. It will figure it out from what you've entered. We've only entered the numbers 0 and 1, therefore it will create a grid of that size. It doesn't need to be told how big it's going to be. It will figure it out as it goes. So let's have a look. That's looking pretty good. So my text, and then the text box and the submit here. Ideally what I was after was the submit button going across the 2 sections. And we can do that by a command called column span, and saying, okay, how many columns do we want it to go over? We want it to go over 2. So we want it to go over this column and this column. So run that, and there we go. So we've managed to make this look a lot better. Now notice if you resize that, that will all go to the correct size. So if we resize the text and say my really long text, we can see that that's now a bigger size and it's all adjusted to fit what it needs to be. To find all the information on this, you'll notice I've got Google in the background. If you just type Tkinter grid, this is quite a nice website. We can go onto there, and here we've got examples of how it works, how to actually do it. So we've got very similar here, where we've had row 0, column 1, and if you scroll down, you got examples here of spanning multiple things and sticking to one side or the other. So this has all of the different options you need, and it's a great website. You can find all sorts of examples in there, play around, see what you can do. Okay, so that is grid, and that's essentially how you do it with grid. It's a fairly straightforward method. Now the next one is place. Now place is really simple in that you're not telling it the row and the column, you're giving it the exact X and Y coordinates. So we can place the label in that location, so 10 across and 100 down, and then we can place the entry box, let's say 160 across and 100 down, so ideally just to the right of the label. And then we want the button to be underneath, so we'll do it back to the left hand side and on the next row. Let's change these to place. Let's have it like this. There we go. Now you notice that on the grid this outside window went perfectly to the right size. This one is relying on you to get all of your coordinates spot on. It's a lot less flexible. I much prefer grid and pack because it works with the window manager and says, okay, what size does this need to be? Okay, that is essentially all there is to place. Again, if you want more information on it, Google Tkinter place and it will take you to this web page to the right section. It's really good. Okay, let's go back to pack for now, because you'll notice that we didn't manage to get it with one below the other, and surely there should be a way to do that. So at the moment this is just chucked in all one below the other. Now you can do it, but you need to use something called frames. Now you can use frames with any of the geometry managers. It's really important that you don't mix geometry managers. If I decided to do this one, say these two by grid, and then that one by pack, it will throw a hissy fit. So don't mix the geometry managers. Instead, what we can do is we can create a frame. And so we'll just call it top frame. And we're saying, okay, the parent of this frame is going to be window. But now, the label and the entry, instead of being the parent of window, having their parent as window, their parent is going to be top frame. So now what we've essentially done is we've created a frame which we're going to put the label in, and we're going to put the text box in, and then we're going to put this frame inside the main window. and then underneath we can put the text box. So we're creating the overall frame here, and then these ones are going to be part of that frame, and we're just going to pack the top frame like we have done before, but we're going to keep this one as window. Let's have a look at this. Okay, that looks pretty much the same as it did before. Let's have a quick look on Google, see what it says under Tkinter pack, because I think there's going to be a very useful command. And what I'm looking for is a way to put them sideways. So here we can see that that's how you just whack them in. That's how you make sure that they fill the area. Here we've got them side by side, and the command they've used is side equals left. So if we put on these two, so the label and the text box, so go back to the awesome drawing, so these two, we don't want them one below the other, we want one next to the other, starting on the left hand side. So we can say side equals left. We're leaving these two because these two are where we're packing it into the main area. These two are where we're packing it into the top frame. Now this is where it's a slight exception in the way you use geometry managers. You can use a grid inside a frame and then pack outside a frame, or vice versa. So the frame is a nice way of containing a certain area. So you may be able to sort of visually see in different applications where you've got a distinct part of the application and everything is done on its own in those areas, and then that's all joined together. So let's have a look at that. There we go. And again, that makes it so whatever size this text is, it just works. Again, look at the web page, and there's different ways of making things fit nicely and all the rest. So we may be able to put in fill X on there, on the button, and will that do it? There we go. So there's all sorts of things on here. Have a look at the images, see what sort of effect you're trying to create, and have a tinker.